Boy, did this assignment make me feel old. Actually, no, not old per se. For the most part, video games have always made me feel pretty uncool. It's just that now that I'm over 40, uncool equals old. I've just had so little interest in them since hitting puberty. Before that, I loved video games. When I was about 8, I thought Pong was genius. And games like Donkey Kong, Pac Man, Centipede, Frogger, Asteroids, and oh god, Tron were genius. I was lucky too because when I was 10, my grandparents opened a restaurant and put an old railroad car in the parking lot, which they filled with all of those games and more. Side note and fun fact, that restaurant called Loco Joe's in Wichita, Kansas, was where the comedian Sinbad of 80s sitcom fame got his start. True story. When the business took a nosedive, though, and then home gaming systems took over, I just could not care. We never had a lot of money when I was growing up, and video games were the last thing anyone in my family thought to spend money on. So I am not a gaming genius, not even a gaming amateur. In fact, the only game I've ever played on my iPhone, which I've owned for about 6 years, is Ragdoll Blaster. It is slow, it is clunky, it is very plain to look at, and it features 5 colors: white, black, red, blue, and light blue. That's it. The background is designed to look like a crumpled piece of geometry graph paper, and the typeface for all instruction is American typewriter. The goal of the game is to shoot very crudely depicted rag dolls out of a simply drawn cannon through a series of obstacles to reach a bullseye. Again, that's it. No story, no additional characters. There is no customization of avatars because there are no avatars. It's just you and your finger swiveling the cannon to choose the proper trajectory and timing. All to the tune of Edvard Grieg's Suite Number 1 in the Hall of the Mountain King from Peer Gynt. The longer you take on each level, the more frantic the music becomes. As you advance through the levels, the obstacles become more complex, time-consuming, and kind of confusing, and the musical pressure builds accordingly. But the visuals never change, their color or complexity, aside from the additional maze-like quality of the setup. To be clear, I love this game. It is pure engineering, figuring trajectory and timing and trying again and again to get it right. It reminds me of a game that was hidden in the first PC my family ever owned when I was in high school. There are these two gorillas standing on top of buildings, and they have to bomb one another with bananas. It's totally crude and totally slow, but it was mesmerizing. But Ragdoll Blaster's seemingly crude graphics are misleading. The beautifully rendered motion of its crude little rag dolls has them flopping and sliding like real dolls, and the very way in which they slip and clumsily land is designed to further the game. The dolls fall just as a real rag doll might, often continuing to slip once they've landed, creating these anxiety-ridden little rim shot moments as you wait to see if they'll just touch the bullseye. And that's another beauty of the game. The doll doesn't have to hit the target. Just grazing it is enough to move you to the next level. Sweet. Ragdoll Blaster is not an endless play mind challenger game. It's a coffee break kind of game. Like the card game Solitaire. It's relaxing even as it's challenging. The rules are completely straightforward and simple, and it offers so many opportunities for help, like a trajectory line sight and the ability to reset and start over at any moment, that it never feels defeating. On the other hand, the levels of difficulty increase so much that if you did start playing it obsessively, you wouldn't beat it too easily or quickly. Or at least I wouldn't. I would not call this a gamer's game, but I would call it a fun game. And that is likely why, despite its no-frills style, it's still around after all these years. So on to my review. According to Michelle's criterion, this game gets an A for easy-to-use interface, graphics, and audio quality. A B for its degree of difficulty, since I kind of love how easy it is. Although it does get incredibly hard as the levels increase. It gets an NA for non-applicable for the customization of avatars, since there aren't any. And it gets an A+ for the size of universe, since though the scenarios don't change in intent, there are 104 levels to get through. Plenty to keep someone busy for A day, a week, it could probably keep me busy for a lifetime. Overall, I give Ragdoll Blaster an A. As a final note, there are other incarnations of the game that much more closely resemble something like Mario Brothers, with intense colors and bells and whistles. I downloaded one for the purpose of this assignment and immediately wanted to shoot whoever made it. Needless to say, I dig the original. As a side note, do you know how many super messed up things come up if you just put in the letter A on Google? What the hell is that?